everyone for joining us today. This is the Jenn and Becca podcast. I am Becca, and this is my dear friend,
Jenn.
Good job, Jenn. Thank you so much for joining us for episode 7. Wow, time flies when you're having fun. You probably noticed a gap in an episode getting released this past week. We had a little bit of family emergencies here in the Santos household, so I apologize for that, but it will be released very shortly.
You also had a hurricane, just minor things.
They were back to back too. I think we had one week and then Milton the next week. Yeah. And so we were in survival mode for like 2 solid weeks.
It was rough.
Fun times. Yeah. But we have a few topics that we want to cover with you today. Before I get started though, make sure that you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and make sure that you hit that bell so you get notified every time we release new content. That would help us a lot. And if you drop a comment down below, that will help push our content to more potential followers, more people that could hear our message and be served well. So let's jump right in. Jenn, where do you want to start?
Gosh, let's see. We have so much weird stuff happening.
Yeah.
We've got the whole Diddy case that seems to be like peeling an onion. Every time we think we know the weirdest of the weird, something weirder happens.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the interesting episode with Joel Webbon, the pastor out of Austin. What was the other thing? There was something else.
We have Mike Jeffries, the CEO of Abercrombie Fitch.
Yeah.
Let's start with Joel Webbon. I'm just really curious why he thought this was acceptable.
Yeah.
He said publicly during a sermon on a Sunday from the pulpit that women who lie about sexual abusers should be publicly executed.
Yeah.
He did not say anything about, sex offenders being publicly executed. He said the women that lie about situations should be publicly executed. That one make sense for me, Jenn.
And he specifically said, this is his reasoning in his sermon. He said, let me pull up the quote so I don't mess up.
And before you pull that up,
yes,
I just want everyone to know that I want you to be kind in the comments below. Be nice. And if you don't have something nice to say, don't say it at all, because everything that we're talking about is alleged. Everybody is innocent until proven guilty in the court of law. Obviously, though, if there's video content out there showing that people are saying stuff, then we're going to talk about it. We're going to comment on it. And everything we mentioned is covered under the Fair Use Act of 1970. Something. So just keep that in mind as we're discussing things. Please don't sue us. Carry on, Jenn.
Yes. So Joel said that he wants women who lie about sexual assault to be publicly executed, and that if this were to happen, the hashtag #MeToo, he says hashtag #MeToo would end real fast. Now, let's put this in some perspective. Hashtag #MeToo is a social media phenomenon in which real victims share real accounts in order to educate others, in order to encourage other survivors, in order to help women and children and men who are living with abuse to get help, to encourage them so they know that they're not alone. So #MeToo is not false reports. I mean, I'm sure, anywhere on social media, some people are going to embellish, some people are going to lie. But generally speaking, #MeToo is real accounts. The reason Joel Webbon says that he wants to execute women who falsely accuse is because he wants #MeToo to end. He wants to silence. That's what he's saying is he wants to silence real victims. And that's exactly the effect that would have. Because I will tell you this, even when a victim comes forward and says 100% the truth and has evidence to back it up, the abuser, generally speaking, almost always is going to falsely accuse them of lying.
Yeah.
This is like abuser 101. This is what they always do.
Absolutely.
So every victim, including the ones that are 100% telling the truth, are going to be terrified to get help because they don't want to be publicly executed. This is profoundly disturbing because I do not think Joel is stupid. I do not. And the fact that he says hashtag Me Too would end real fast tells me he knows exactly the effect that this kind of, I don't want to call it justice because it's not justice, but this kind of action would have a chilling effect on real abuse reporting. And I don't know how else to understand what he's saying.
No, I think that it is a shame to begin with that victims, survivors of abuse, have to prove every which way that someone actually physically harmed them or groomed them or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that everybody's innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. I appreciate that. However, when you're talking about something that absolutely destroys someone's psyche, someone's mental well being, puts people into fight or flight, I mean, these are extreme sins.
Yeah.
And we're talking about lying versus sexually abusing someone. Like
Yeah.
this
That's not
scale.
the same thing.
No, it's not even close to the same thing. I don't know. I don't know him personally. I've never heard of him until recently. He looks familiar. He was involved with a document called the Statement on Christian Nationalism and the Gospel, drafted in 2023, where him, along with some other well-known Christian pastors, presented to the United States, I don't know if it was the government or what, that they must acknowledge the lordship of Christ in all its laws, abolish abortion, so on and so forth, outlaw marriage equality, and recapture our national sovereignty from godless global entities who present a grave threat to civilization. It sounds like he doesn't understand that God is sovereign.
Yeah.
It sounds like he doesn't understand that. It sounds like he has a lot of misunderstandings, actually.
Yes, I would agree with that. And this is all rooted. Okay, so when I was a kid, these people were called theonomists. I remember this. And what they wanted was they wanted to instate Christian law, like biblical law, in America as if America was a theocracy. That's why they're called theonomists, theonomy, theocracy. They want to install a theocracy in America. Problem is, Jesus hadn't come back yet.
Right.
So it doesn't really work. Like, it just on a practical level, this can't be done. But what he's pushing for, and I don't know that he would call himself a theonomist, and I don't know that theonomists would ever want to have anything to do with him, particularly after what he just said. But he does want to install Old Testament laws in the U.S. So they're talking about probably this, I would guess this would include executing like that.
Yeah, I'm so thankful that we live by grace, that
Yes.
there's a new covenant in place since Christ came to fulfill the law, people. He came to fulfill the law so that way we who are imperfect and not capable of the law could be made righteous through his sacrifice. Like,
Amen.
I am not a
yes.
theologian. I am just a follower. I'm a measly peasant follower of Jesus Christ. And hey, guess what? I even know this. So
Yes.
just saying.
I think that they're missing and like you said, missing the purpose of the Old Testament laws. The purpose of the Old Testament was to demonstrate over and over and over again that we cannot keep the law, that we need a savior. That's the whole point. Like, if you wanted to boil the whole Old Testament down into a little bitty nutshell, it would be like, wow, you guys can't live perfect lives and you need Jesus. That's the whole point. And so by bringing back those laws, basically they'd be setting up pretty much everybody for failure. And also those are their moral laws. They're not like,
you cannot
you can't
expect,
like, for example, making it illegal, for example, to take God's name in vain. Like, are you serious? You can't. I would love it if nobody ever did, but
yeah. Do you know what it reminds me of?
Fly.
You know, if you're a Christian and you go to church and you see young believers who are coming to church with low-cut blouses or short dresses, and you're like, man, they're Christians, they should be dressing modestly. Yes, they should be. You are correct. We don't want to cause anybody to stumble. However, that is not a work that you do in the heart of that person. That is a work that
Right.
only God, through the preaching of his word and the reading of his word, can change in the heart of a believer. And so we're not called to implement God's law here on earth. He will do that when it's time.
Yeah.
That's not our job. We are not called to be nationalists.
Yeah.
So I would say that I'm not a globalist because I don't want to do the whole Tower of Babel thing, right? But
Yeah, we've tried that before, right?
yeah, right, exactly. But I would
They
say
tried that,
that
it didn't work.
I'm a lot more like Nehemiah. In the book of Nehemiah, he wept over his country being destroyed and the walls being torn down. That's how I feel about America. I love our country, but I'm not under a misunderstanding that we are called to implement God's law here on earth.
Yeah.
God appoints kings and princes and presidents, and they fulfill what he wants them to fulfill to bring back the second coming of Jesus Christ.
Right. Well, and it's like we are one nation under God, but newsflash, every nation is under God. Like England, Russia, they're all under God. God is in control. God is sovereign. America is not Israel 2.0. We're not God's chosen nation. He is choosing believers. He is choosing his children from all over the world. And, when we talk about a holy nation, what is it? You are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation.
Yes.
That holy nation is the church.
Yes.
It's believers. It's Christians. It's not
God's people.
America.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's right. America's not mentioned in scripture.
But America's not going to be in heaven. Yeah.
Yes. Preach it, girl. So I just want to reiterate a quote that Joel Webbon said. And then I want to challenge you, dear brother Joel, to ask yourself if this should apply also to sex offenders, okay? If that were to occur and the just penalties were to be enforced, you, the false accuser, is now put to death, Webbon declared. And that's a public death. It's a public sentence, publicly carried out. Then the citizens of these United States of America, you know what they would do? Hashtag Me Too would end real fast. False accusing, playing the victim when you're actually not. You know how to end that real fast. All you have to do is publicly execute a few women who have lied. So all we have to do, dear brother Joel, is execute just a few of the sex offenders and human traffickers and smugglers, even child predators.
Who cover up abuse.
That right there. Okay. So if we're
it's ludicrous.
It absolutely is. It is. It's crazy, especially coming from the mouth of an alleged Christian pastor. I mean, it makes me nauseous, Joel. Knock it off. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely 100%.
Mike Jeffries, who is the CEO, or probably was the CEO, ex-CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch, along with some of his business associates, were arrested in a sex trafficking probe.
Ugh.
80-year-old. He's 80. Have you seen his face?
He looks weird.
Maybe he was in an accident or something. I don't know. But if I saw him coming my way, I would probably go a different way. He looks demonic or something.
I don't know.
His romantic partner, Matthew Smith, 61. So, it's only a 20-year age difference, as well as another business associate, James Jacobson, 71. Previously described by accusers. So these individuals are serial sexual offenders, according to the New York Post. Described by accusers as a middleman who is missing his nose and covers the spot with a snakeskin patch. I think they're talking about either Matthew Smith or James Jacobson, but this is just so crazy. Federal prosecutors in Brooklyn were set to hold a news conference later Tuesday to announce the charges in the sex trafficking and interstate prostitution case.
Wow.
The arrests come roughly a year after the FBI started probing claims Jeffries allegedly orchestrated elaborate sex events This is sounding Diddy-ish. To exploit and sexually abuse young male models during his 2020 or 22-year tenure at Abercrombie and Fitch.
You know, as soon as I saw this headline, I knew it was male victims. Because have you ever seen their posters, like in the mall and stuff?
Yes.
They're very sexualized. It's highly
Yes.
like it.
On the males, not the females. Have you noticed that?
No, I hadn't noticed that. But the posters in general just creep me out.
Yeah.
They're looking at the models in a way that is highly objectifying.
And it's marketed to teenagers.
Yes, so there's a grooming element.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is dangerous stuff. It really does remind me. My goodness. It says 100 men. Yeah, it says in the wake of the BBC report, a class action civil suit was filed in New York last year alleging that more than 100 men had been abused and that the fashion juggernaut turned a blind eye to Jeffries' alleged misconduct.
Oh my gosh. Well, it sounds like they're probably going to get sued.
Bradbury, then 23 and an aspiring model, told the outlet that he didn't feel safe to say no, or I don't feel comfortable with this because of the home's secluded location and presence of Jeffries' staff, who all dressed in a uniform of head to toe A&F, Abercrombie and Fitch.
Weird.
So these male models, based off of this post and a few other posts or articles that I've read, were taken to secluded homes owned by these individuals, these 70, 80-year-old disgusting men who then sexually exploited them. Jeffries was so important to the profitability of the brand that he was given complete autonomy to perform his role as CEO. There we go. No accountability, none at all. However, he saw fit, including through the use of blatant international sex trafficking and abuse of prospective Abercrombie models.
Wild. And that's in the New York Post?
Yes. So we have another case of someone in authority, someone who has a lot of affluence and influence with a lot of power in an industry that purposes to have young, attractive people involved and then takes them to secluded areas to force them to do sex acts.
Yeah.
And they felt so unsafe because they were in such a secluded area. Reminds me of Epstein.
Yes.
They were in a secluded area. Yeah. And they couldn't leave on their own ability.
And then that part that you read about how his entire staff was in uniform, it almost sounds kind of cultish. Like, I know it's not, obviously Abercrombie and Fitch is not a religious organization, but I think there's something of the same psychology there. You've got people devoted, like, to no exclusion, apparently, to protecting and enabling this old pervert.
Well, and supposedly he left in 2014 and has since denied the allegations, even though, he's being charged. He's being charged
by like 100. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
I don't think, I still don't think that all those guys are lying. I don't think so.
Yeah. It's less than 1%.
More than 100 men are alleging abuse.
Abercrombie and Fitch since came out and said that this was appalling and disgusting, and added it had hired an outside law firm to conduct a review. Whoop-de-doo. You probably should have held him accountable while he was in the position. Yeah. There should never be a situation where anybody is running a company without accountability. No. And I think even a church without accountability, don't go to that church. You need a board of elders or something. I love the way that the book of Acts has kind of set up the church and described how it should be ran, because there's accountability there. Yeah. That should be the same way with any company. There should be accountability. Nobody should be able to run a company autonomously, especially that has that much influence, without accountability. This is what results. People's passions and lusts.
And I'm looking at their advertisements, and you're right. A lot of not all, but a lot of the ads that are sexual in nature are young men. Mm-hmm. There's even, I can't believe this is real. I'm not clicking on it, but there's two naked people on an elephant. They're not even wearing clothes. Like, how does that
I mean, the
advertise?
first, so I just typed in Abercrombie and Fitch and then clicked on images in Google, and
Yeah.
all of them are pictures of men without their shirts on.
Yeah. And very, very, very low cut jeans.
Yes, like you can see their love handles, if that's what you want to call them, whatever.
Yeah.
But you look at the women, they're dressed, they're covered. I mean, there's some low cut blouses, but I mean, that's to be expected in today's industry.
Yeah, there's
You
some
don't,
midriff, but it's not
yeah.
nearly as the with the stuff with the guys is very wow, like not. And you'll notice too, like the focus isn't even on the clothes, which I think is really weird for a clothing brand. I mean, they're selling clothes, but the focus of the photos is obviously on these guys' abs. Like
Yep.
that's like
So what I'm curious, what does a casting call look like?
right?
I've been to quite a few casting calls when I was a teenager. I
Yeah.
used to do modeling, and the more
Doesn't
you're willing
surprise
to
me. You're
take off,
gorgeous.
oh, you're sweet. The more you're willing to take off, the more jobs you're going to get. That's one of the reasons I completely left. My husband, since I've become a Christian, has encouraged me to get back into it, but I just don't see an outlet for that. Quite honestly, I would rather use my face to promote child safety.
Yeah, yeah. No, there's like
So
this one ad. A lot of these are guys together too. So there's definitely this kind of like
yes.
naked guys together, sort of not quite naked, but well, some of them are pretty much naked. And
Pretty. I
there's
actually,
one where a guy is kissing a girl. He's with two girls at once. The girls are fully clothed in flannel, very baggy flannel shirts. He is not. So yeah, there's definitely.
look at this. I'm going to show you my screen. So this is what comes up when I just type in Abercrombie and Fitch, okay?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing too.
You see just a bunch of men, young men, college-age men without shirts on, right?
Yeah.
Like the same stuff. You go down a little bit and I saw, let me see if I can find it again. Look at this. This was from 1909. Abercrombie and Fitch catalog. My, how things have changed. Wow, 100 years later, and now we're that other. Look at this. Why
Yeah.
is this okay? This is not okay. This is from a staffer from Abercrombie and Fitch in LA, but I don't see the same for women. So
No.
it doesn't. I mean, look at that. There's one woman, a bunch of dudes in their boxers.
Yeah.
There's something wrong here. So
Yeah.
it's not above the realm of possibility that Mike Jeffries indeed did facilitate sex trafficking. And
Yeah.
I'm sure as time goes by, we're going to learn more information about this. But
You know, what's really sad is like you see these images, and I mean, I remember even seeing a lot of some of these sorts of ads, not these same ads, obviously, but these kind of ads. You know, when I was a teen, knowing even at the time, I was like, that's a little odd. You know, they're focusing so much on the models' bodies and not on the clothes. Like, what are they marketing here? And I think that gives us kind of a window, an insight into how the company, the executives are thinking.
Yeah.
And that's what they're interested in. They're interested in sexualizing their models.
Look at the way this Abercrombie and Fitch manager is like holding on to these two male models like they're accessories. I guess there's a documentary that came out also. Let's see if I can find it again. The Abercrombie and Fitch documentary reveals how power decides what's cool. Look at this guy's face. Like very much controlled by these sickos. Like, how are you going to promote a clothing line when the male models aren't wearing any clothing? Like,
yeah, and
what?
I'm telling you, there's this one ad, and I need to verify that it's real, but there's one ad where two totally naked people sitting on an elephant. There's no clothes in the entire picture. Like, why is this a clothing ad? It's bizarre.
I think that there's many situations where companies start off great and then they allow someone who has debased mind to come into the company, and that company goes down south really, really fast.
Yeah.
And I think that is the unfortunate case with Abercrombie and Fitch.
Yeah. Well, it's very clear that someone with a very perverse mind was heavily influencing their ads. Oh, this is like basically porn.
Yeah.
Some of this stuff we can't even show on. It's just not appropriate. There's naked people.
So there's also some new lawsuits that were filed in the month of October against Sean Diddy Combs. And I think we kind of expected a lot of this stuff to come out, but some of the most jaw-dropping allegations now are that the one that just was released this past week was that he a 13-year-old girl along with another unnamed celebrity. There is this lawyer, Ariel Mitchell Kidd, who is representing several of the victims of Sean Combs, and she is on video saying that she has received several of the freak off tapes, the videos themselves.
Those have got to be hard to watch.
I would imagine so. Like, you have to go on like serious renewal of the mind Bible study after that. Like, you got to renew your mind after seeing that kind of stuff.
Ugh.
Allegedly, y'all. Allegedly. Okay. Leonardo DiCaprio was the other person in that video.
No. Wow.
Yeah. Allegedly. Until I see proof, right? My 13-year-old heart doesn't want to admit that Leo would do that. But I don't know if you remember
Ricky Gervais.
Yes. So, and I mean, it's been alleged that he likes really young girls for a long time. So it wouldn't be surprising, but it would be extremely disappointing.
It's always disappointing whenever you find out. I don't know. I think part of it's that, I think innately we want to believe the best in people.
Yeah.
I think as Christians too, we're always hoping that, people are influenced by the Spirit to avoid these kinds of sins. And I think too, particularly when it comes to celebrities, you've seen them play roles where they're heroes. You've seen them play roles where they have integrity and decency and they honor women and they protect the weak, but they're actors. And so that's not necessarily who they are. I think that there's a lot of actors who genuinely play themselves and who are genuinely wonderful people. But at the same time, it's very hard to untangle the character that you've seen in the movies from the real person who lives behind the screen. But yeah.
I personally was obsessed with Leonardo DiCaprio when I was a preteen, and
around the time Titanic came out.
Yeah, I saw that movie in theaters like 10 times with my best friend. We could not go enough. We wanted to like get the record of most viewed in theater. We definitely didn't, but
no aspiration.
Yeah, so it was absolutely heartbreaking. But Ricky Gervais,
it's the 2020 Golden Globes.
Yes.
But he also joked about Jeffrey Epstein.
He did, and that's how it started.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm like, if you look back at some of these things, you're like,
people knew.
Why did we think that this was a joke, first of all? Secondly, everybody knew.
Yeah.
Everybody knew. Some of them were trying not to laugh. And then it makes you wonder, like,
and I think wasn't it Tom Hanks who looked outright offended? Or am I thinking of something else? Like some people.
No, you're right.
Some people look.
You are correct.
Someday it would be interesting to watch that again, knowing what we know now, to watch that again and just see the crowd's reactions, because I think that will tip you off on like who knew what. And
yeah. I'm going to see if you can hear this.
Let's go with a bang. Let's have a laugh at your expense, shall we? Remember, they're just jokes. We're all going to die soon. But tonight isn't just about the people in front of the camera. In this room, TV and film executives in the world, people from every background, but they all have one thing in common. They're all terrified of Ronan Farrow. He's coming for you. He's coming for you. Look, talking of all you perverts, it was a big year. It was a big year for movies. Surviving R. Kelly, Leaving Neverland, Two Popes. You could binge watch the entire first season of Afterlife instead of watching this show. That's a show about a man who wants to kill himself because his wife dies of cancer. And it's still more fun than this, okay? Spoiler alert, season 2 is on the way. So in the end, he obviously didn't kill himself. Just like Jeffrey Epstein. Shut up! I know he's your friend, but I don't care.
He's their friend.
You had to make your own way here in your own plane, didn't you? It wasn't the only epic movie. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, nearly 3 hours long. Leonardo DiCaprio attended the premiere, and by the end, his date was too old for him.
Not above the realm of possibility.
Even Prince Andrew's like, come on, Leo, mate. You know,
Prince Andrew.
you're nearly 50, son. It's the last time. Who cares?
He's like, I'm just going to put it all out there. Yeah, if you look at their facial expressions, like Tom Hanks gets irritated. I think it's some of the older actors that are all sitting around the same table that, like, yeah, I think it was like Robert De Niro and a few others. It's just, when you look back, it makes me think that a lot of people went to Diddy parties, Epstein parties, maybe Mike Jeffries parties. I think there's a lot more people in these elite circles that are involved with these sex parties.
Yeah.
And they're drugging people. That's what we're seeing in the Diddy case. That's what we saw in the Epstein case. And then putting them in very weird situations.
In addition to sex crimes, I wonder how much blackmail there is going on in Hollywood. Because can you imagine, like, oh, you've got to give me this role. Otherwise, I'm going to tell everybody what I saw you do at so-and-so's party. You know, I mean, I can just imagine
that's what they're saying.
They have on each other. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. Epstein was used as a spy.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's
he was
true.
A big-time blackmailer, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was supposedly a spy for the Mossad. And I don't know if that's true. That's alleged. But that's, I'm pretty sure it's true.
Whether he killed himself or not.
I saw that in the documents from the court. Of course, they're highly redacted, so it's hard to say like who was involved, which, for a lack of better words, really pisses me off that we still don't have the Epstein list. There's clearly a big Diddy list, too. He had hundreds of people at his parties. Hundreds. I watched a video this past week of a P. Diddy freak off party whistleblower. She came out, she has evidence that she was there, and basically this is how the operation worked. There was a huge party, hundreds of people at his mansion. He lived on Star Island in Florida, which is just outside of Miami. There's an island called Star Island. I'll put it up on the screen.
These guys on islands?
Because they can escape fast, like boat access. There's one road on that island and that same road to get off the island. There's no other way except for ports. It looks like each house, and there's big names that own houses on this island, has a dock where there's a yacht or something, and that's how they mostly travel on and off that island. So it's going to be a lot easier to get children on the island if nobody sees what you're doing.
Yeah. And then once they're there, they're trapped.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is what was happening. So you get invited to a Diddy party. Everybody starts outside. If you get handed white slippers, that's your invite to go inside.
That's not creepy at all.
Not at all. And the people handing out the white slippers was Diddy and his sons. Okay.
Gross.
So this one girl, she was there with her girlfriend, and I think they were like, I don't know if they were prostitutes or dancers or something of that nature. And she said no, she didn't want to go inside unless her friend could also go inside. Well, she wasn't invited to go inside. That was the first time she was offered by one of Diddy's sons. The second time she was offered was from Diddy. She's holding these white slippers. He sees that she's not inside. He makes eye contact with her, walks up, and he's like, "Why aren't you inside my house?" And she's like, "Girl, I'm just going to go see what all the fuss is about inside the house. I'll be right back. Call my cell phone if you need me," kind of thing. So she goes in the house, and this is all according to this whistleblower that was at a Diddy party. And I can dig up her name. But she goes inside the house and she says there was hundreds of people inside the house, celebrities, Instagram influencers, all kinds of people that she's like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe this person's here and this person's here." And they're walking around like it's nothing. Well, in one corner, in one room, one thing's going on. In this corner, another thing's going on. Drugs, sex, people doing disgusting things with each other, just openly.
Yeah.
It wasn't. So I expected all of that. But she said she left and she fled for her life when she saw children dressed up like, like that toddlers and tiara thing.
Oh.
Children dressed up, not just like teenage kids, like kids. And she's like, is this some sort of fetish thing? Like these people, and the video got edited. It was on a really popular podcast interviewed her on YouTube. She said that these children were there and that's where she drew the line. There's no reason children should be present to watch people use drugs, watch people have sex, and engage in these activities.
That's horrific. Jeez.
And then I saw so much. Robert David Steele. Do you know who that is?
Mm-mm.
He's an ex-CIA spy, co-founder of the United States Marine Corps Intelligence Activity. He died in 2021 after he went to a hospital because he had and he requested alternative medicine, and they gave him the regular medication, all that kind of stuff, and then put him on a respirator, and he passed away shortly after that. Very sad. But there's a video that I just posted on my Instagram account of him saying how the United States government is facilitating child trafficking, and that the military bases around the world are actually used to smuggle drugs, guns, and children. Now, I don't have any reason to believe him to be a liar.
Right.
What does he have to gain by saying this, right? And he was holding it in front of an entire court, this interview, this speech that he gave. So it's really disheartening. He goes in to explain that these children are undocumented children. They have no birth certificates. He confirms what we have talked about in the past, how there are baby mills where women are forced to have sex, forced to get pregnant, forced to deliver, and immediately their babies taken away from them. There was a baby mill bust, I think it was in Arizona last year, where there's a bunch of illegal immigrant women that were pulled out of this house, and they're all undocumented in America. And they said that they've had endless babies and they've just been taken away from them. And so many people are like, okay, well, if this is happening, then where are they getting the children from? Like, why aren't parents like saying my kid's been kidnapped? Well, there's a lot of undocumented children.
Yeah. Well, and even you just think about how many 100,000, was it 300? And that just happened in the last couple of years, right? So
every year from America, 460,000 children go missing.
That's unacceptable.
We are the #1 country in the world for the most missing children. The UK is after us with like 200 something thousand kids that go missing a year.
Oh, jeez.
Where are they going? So Robert David Steele continues to say that these children have about a 2-year expiration once they hit trafficking. They are, ran through every day sexually, and then their health obviously would start to deteriorate. And then once they get to a certain point, their organs are harvested.
Oh, geez.
Like, he doesn't hold back. He even talks about adrenochrome and how these children are and satanic ritual abuse. He talks about that and how that's a real thing, that these kids are tortured for their blood to be harvested, and then after that, their organs to be harvested. And you're like, well, why would people want the blood of tortured kids? Well, adrenochrome is a real thing, and I know it's been labeled as a conspiracy theory for years by the elite who are partaking in these things, but this blood supposedly gives you youthful effects.
No, that's like Elizabeth Bathory type stuff.
It's sick.
I don't buy into a lot of the conspiracy theory type stuff. I think that obviously the human trafficking element is very obviously factually true, and I don't know that it goes beyond that, but that by itself is so completely horrific and demonic just by itself that, it's almost kind of a moot point whether it could possibly get worse, and turn into sacrifice or anything extreme like that. Yeah. Because it's already extreme. It's already like straight out of hell. So, I think that when it comes to advocacy, I just focus on, okay, we know that this is happening. We absolutely 100% have evidence that this is happening. And if we can stop that, if we can prevent that, then anything else that might possibly be happening is also stopped. So that's just kind of my take on that whole situation. But man, when it comes to, I think it's really eye-opening when you realize that Planned Parenthood, for example, was trying to selling baby organs. So that this stuff goes on, whether it goes on for satanic rituals or for medical experimentation, I don't know. But I mean, which is worse, because either way, it's so demonic.
It's just horrible.
And evil. It's just off the charts.
It is
Unimaginably evil.
I mean, we know child trafficking is real. There's evidence of that. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's questionable. I don't think no sane person would ever question that.
Yeah. It's just what they're doing with the children after. How could they lose 325,000 kids from the border that cross the border? And then in addition to that, 460,000 documented children within the United States a year go missing. So obviously they don't just disappear in thin air. They have to, they're going somewhere.
Yeah.
Whether it be labor trafficking, sex trafficking, organ harvesting.
Well, I think a lot of, one thing that I don't think it's talked about enough, a lot of women who work as prostitutes, they were actually trafficked as children.
Yes.
A lot of those women were. And I'm sure that's true with male prostitutes as well.
For sure.
So I think a lot of them, especially, in human trafficking, a lot of times the way they keep these kids quiet is they give them drugs. Well, they get addicted to the drugs. And these are your homeless people. These are your, sex workers. These are, people who overdose.
Yeah.
And so this stuff gets covered up because the victims self-destruct. You don't even have to get rid of or kill someone if they're just going to overdose on their own.
Yeah, that's true.
It's
absolutely true.
It's horrifying. But and that goes to show you also how absolutely evil this stuff is, because it kills you on the inside. It makes you wish you could die. And so it is right up there, in my opinion, with murder. 100%.
Yeah.
It is up there with murder. We're talking about, when we talk about human traffickers, we're essentially talking about an organized gang of murderers. That's how bad these people are. Because they're absolutely devastating these kids on a psychological level.
Well, and that's why they're going after Diddy on a RICO charge, because it is an international crime organization that he has created, where it's his staffers, it's a large group of people that are working together to sexually exploit and traffic people.
Yeah.
And, drugs and substances are involved. I don't know. The adrenochrome thing I do think is true. I've done a lot of research. You can look it up online. There's websites where you can actually purchase.
There's like serial killer types who would love that. I just don't know that it's on the rampant scale that we're seeing with human trafficking. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, no, I think that's just a small component of human trafficking.
That's on the same level as cannibalism. I mean, that's so bizarre.
Oh, but there's cannibal restaurants in LA and New York.
No.
Yes, there is.
That would not be legal.
Well, here's the thing, okay? This is why it is legal. Cannibalism is not illegal in all 50 states. There's only a few. Idaho is the only U.S. state in which cannibalism is illegal, according to the University of Idaho.
So, according to Reuters, the Cannibal Club is a hoax. Posts on social media appear to show the purported VIP list of a venue known as Cannibal Club, with guests including musician Katy Perry, author Chelsea Clinton, Anderson Cooper, Meryl Streep, blah, 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 claiming that guests actually consume human flesh, but the existence of this venue is fictitious and it is a hoax of some kind.
I could totally understand, I guess, a themed restaurant. How they have, the bubblegum shrimp restaurant.
Right.
They have, a Hard Rock Cafe. They have, these themed restaurants.
Yeah,
They even have,
Rainbow, whatever it's called. Rainbow
Grumpy's
Forest Cafe.
Yeah, Grumpy's, which all the server staff is supposed to be really mean to the
really?
guests. Yeah.
There's this place here in the Houston area that you'd like. They have throwed rolls, and the rolls are like hot out of the oven, and this kid comes out, or the waiter or whoever, and he just shucks them across the room.
That's
and you catch them,
awesome.
and it's hilarious. It's very funny.
That
But
sounds
yes,
fun.
while it would be possible that there could be like a Hannibal Lecter
Yeah.
themed restaurant, I maybe that's what the cannibal is. I don't know, but the Cannibal Club is a hoax. It is not real. And it
Okay.
says on Reuters, a reverse image search shows that the logo of the venue on social media stems from the website for I'm trying to
Okay,
find.
Jen. Like, there's an article by The Independent from 2014 that says cannibal restaurant with roasted human heads on the menu was shut down by the police.
That would be because it's illegal.
Well, you would think. Like, where are they getting the human heads? Human flesh was apparently being sold as an expensive treat at the restaurant, with authorities saying that roasted human head was even on the menu. Listen, people can create any kind of business they want and make it appear one thing when it might not be one thing. And then people, there's even drug dealers that create businesses to wash their money. I mean, I'm not saying it's not above the realm of possibility, but there was a cannibal restaurant that was busted in 2014. Chef de cuisine gained no.
All I know is this is illegal.
It's not, though. It's not illegal except for in Idaho.
Well, I don't know.
I guess how you procure the meat could be illegal, but apparently eating human meat is not illegal in all states except for Idaho.
I find that very highly suspect.
Well, you can ask ChatGPT.
I don't trust ChatGPT.
How about, do you trust Wikipedia? You don't trust, unless it says it in the Bible, I don't trust it.
These AI, I mean, it pulls stuff from everywhere. Like, I was trying to look up something. I was trying to, this is really random, but I was trying to look up the Greek and or Latin origins of certain English letters. And it said that the letter Google AI told me that the letter I was the 5th letter in the alphabet. No, it's not. So AI is, you can't trust that. And Wikipedia, absolutely any Yahoo can log in there and edit whatever they want.
Oh, that's true. I never thought of that.
Yeah, no, Wikipedia, you're not even allowed, like if you're writing a paper, or if you're writing a journalistic article, you cannot cite Wikipedia. It's considered unethical because it's not reliable. So anything on there, double check everything.
Like, what do you check it against? Because even like the media.
Have sources. They should have sources.
Oh, I see.
And so if you can track it back to a book or, a news article from a reputable organization like the Houston Chronicle or the New York Times or something like that, then you're dealing with an organization that has, to some degree or another, fact-checked what they're reporting.
So according to Find Law, why'd you put that picture there? Find Law? That's hard. Is it legal to eat human flesh? And they show a picture of two guys eating human flesh. I did not need to see that. And according to findlaw.com, in 49 states, you can at least theoretically eat human flesh and drink human blood in full view of a policeman and suffer no legal consequences.
Where are you getting this?
Findlaw.com.
Okay, because there's also something called desecration of a corpse. This would include dismemberment, disfigurement, mutilation, burning, or any act to cause the body of a human being to be devoured, scattered, or dissipated. Yeah,
so again, it depends how you procure the meat.
So I think what the issue is that they're not calling it cannibalism in the law, but there's a lot of laws around how you treat a human body and the disposal of human remains.
Yes.
And so it would make it illegal to fillet them or roast them.
One thing I did want to mention about the Diddy case is that more victims that come out, we're learning that Christina Coram, who was Diddy's right hand, as he called her, is also being listed as a defendant in these cases because she was his gatekeeper and procured a lot of the victims. Very much like a Ghislaine Maxwell situation.
I was going to say that. Yeah, very similar situation. And I think I think this kind of underscores too how a lot of abusers work. You're going to have, obviously not all abusers are as horrifyingly powerful and evil and successful as Diddy or Epstein. Part of that's just a matter of opportunity. Part of it is that, they're, for whatever reason, they're limited in how much evil they want to commit. Regardless, I think a lot of abusers, and this comes down to even like domestic violence, abuse in churches, and that sort of thing. A lot of these guys, they have women who support them. They have women who cover stuff up, who help them procure victims, who help them manipulate and brainwash victims. And, it's a really disturbing chemistry that we see playing out a lot on a lot of smaller levels.
There's another Combs associate, Tamiko Thomas, who is listed as a defendant in a new lawsuit that was just filed, saying that she also helped to procure victims of Sean Combs and help protect Sean Combs, as well as his right-hand girl, Christina Coram. So it's just another example of women being used to gain the trust of young people so that way they can be victimized and exploited.
Yes.
And it's sad. So be careful, everybody. Just be less likely to trust and make people actually earn your trust. Don't just give it away freely. Don't put yourself into precarious situations. I know that when I was a teenager starting off in modeling, I definitely would have loved at that time to go to a Diddy party. I'm thankful I never went. I'm thankful God kept me from that.
Well, can you imagine, some famous person like Leonardo DiCaprio invites you to a party? I mean, what teenage girl would say no?
None. Maybe today, because a lot of them probably don't even know who Leo is.
Right. But in our generation, my gosh,
none.
if he invited you to a party,
you're going.
And I didn't even like him.
Yeah.
I did not. And you know why I didn't was because he was all my friends were smitten with him, and I thought it would be cool to be different. So I was like, ew, Leonardo DiCaprio, he's weird looking, and that was me. That was me in high school. Or not high school, but middle school.
Yeah. We're about the same age, I think.
Yeah. Right? I think you're maybe a year younger than me. Something like that.
I'm 38. Just turned 38.
I'm 39.
Yeah. So. Yeah. So, and like Devin Sawa, I don't know if you remember who that was.
I don't.
He was Casper, the human form of Casper in the movie Casper. Yes. He was in so many things. He reminds me of Leonardo DiCaprio, and he he was the main character in the not the Saw movies, in Final Destination.
Oh, I didn't watch that.
Come on.
I grew up in a cave, okay? I was homeschooled.
Anyway, he was one of my favorites too.
Oh,
yeah.
Man, I think lawsuits though, they're just dropping piling
up. Yeah.
Oh
think about
it. This guy's never gonna get out of court.
The oldest lawsuit so far is from 1992.
Wow.
Yeah, so that you're talking about 10, 20, 30 years of sexually abusing people. Obviously not just women. Men were very much involved.
Yeah, a lot of these are guys, the ones I'm looking at now.
Diddy did not discriminate, apparently.
Well,
and so just let's talk for a minute about power predators, because that's what he is.
Yeah.
He's a combination of both the persuasion predator and the power predator, where the persuasion look buttoned up, they have a great job, they have influence, they're a sweet talker. He did that to gain trust of people, but then when he got them in a vulnerable position, his power, his strength, whatever, his influence took over, and it was all about power. It was all about exerting power on other people. And then he had all these videos, these freak off videos. So if at any time somebody wanted to cross him, he could just be like, hey, look, I got this video. You could do what you want, but I would advise you not to. Yeah. What is alarming to me, I think, is all of the allegations or rumors of celebrities' spouses filing for divorce. Have you seen that?
Right now?
Yeah.
No, I haven't been keeping close tabs on it now.
I've just seen a lot of articles about it, and it makes me wonder if they're true. Like we were just talking about, sometimes I just don't know.
Yeah, Kanye's wife. Supposedly they were breaking up, and now they're not, or something like that.
So it was also like Steve Harvey's wife filed for a divorce. I'm trying to think of who else. Ashton Kutcher's wife, Mia Kunis, filed for a divorce. That's allegedly, those are the rumors that are happening, and they're all off the cuff of these freak off videos being turned into attorneys and turned into the authorities.
Yeah.
I don't know how some of it I think could be clickbait, and then others
and some of it could just be coincidence too, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I mean, we saw a similar phenomenon happen with which was Ashley Madison. There was that big breach of their security, and all the names and emails of all their subscribers came out, and there were pastors' names and emails associated with that site, and of course that resulted in
July 2015.
Harry Styles and Taylor Russell are getting divorced. Wait, what am I looking at? Sacha Baron Cohen guy and Fisher are apparently breaking up. Chance the Rapper and Kirsten Corley are breaking up. Goodness, there's a lot of them.
I'm telling you, yeah, there's a lot.
I can't, I vaguely recognize their faces, but I don't actually know their names. I have no idea who those people are.
2024.
Some of these are like
Cardi B and Offset, Billy Ray Cyrus, and Fire Rose. Why would you name yourself Fire Rose?
Mariah Carey and Brian Tanaka are getting they're breaking up.
Joe Jonas and Stormy Bree.
Cardi B and Offset.
Oh, one of the biggest names and one of the most questionable is Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck. Jennifer Lopez was with Diddy for a long time. He has publicly come out and said on numerous occasions that she was the best girlfriend. Allegedly.
I mean,
there's a video.
Know, like, as public as these parties seem to have been, I don't know how anybody attending them could not know, at the very least, that some extremely immoral, if not illegal, things were going on. Like, they sound pretty insane.
Ryan Seacrest and Aubrey Page. You know Ryan Seacrest went to some Diddy parties for sure. He was the host of American Idol. He did hosting for MTV for a while. So if I was a betting woman, I would say that he probably went to a few Diddy parties, but Jennifer Lopez went to a lot of Diddy parties. And one of the rumors, which I'm going to say is a rumor until actual evidence or something solid comes out, was that Ben Affleck, supposedly, and I asked my husband, I was like, why would the authorities show Ben Affleck a freak off video? Is there a reason in your mind that if she was, which I would assume she's probably on some freak off videos, being that they were together for so long, and he said she was the perfect girlfriend, why would the authorities show her spouse these videos?
I assume that they're questioning him.
Well,
they're probably... Yeah, I don't know.
I guess that would make sense if the authorities were questioning him as a probe to the RICO charges against Diddy, but he's filing for divorce against her. And allegedly, there's a freak-off video of her and Justin Bieber when he was a teenage boy. Now, we know something happened to Bieber, and it makes me really sad. Like, his parents signed custody over to Usher when he was a teenager. Usher gave Diddy 48 hours with Bieber alone. There's videos of that, of them talking about it. And then you see Justin and Diddy in a video after, and Justin's like, yeah, I know you've been trying to reach out to me, but like, sorry, not sorry. It's evident that he was harmed or exposed to something that harmed him mentally.
Yeah,
you know?
Hard to say.
It's hard to say. We don't have evidence, but Justin knows, and I hope that he gets healing in Christ. I know that he talks openly about his faith in Jesus now, and I pray that that is a place of restoration and healing for him.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I think that this is such a huge mess, and there's got to be a lot of celebrities and high-profile people wrapped up in this. I mean, these parties were incredibly large, and
it would make sense. You know, the timing of all these divorces. Leah Remini and Angelo Pagan. You remember Leah Remini was in the Scientology circles for a while, and then she came out and spoke against Scientology.
Yeah.
A lot of these divorces were filed after the Diddy scandal broke.
So page 6 is saying there are photos resurfacing of Diddy Combs' wild parties, and the photos do include Leonardo DiCaprio, Sarah Jessica Parker, J-Lo, and more. So, I mean, keep in mind, all of these, depending on what was going on at the party and what part of the party you were in and what time you were at the party, you may or may not have seen varying degrees of evil. You know, these were obviously really bad parties, but I don't know that it's hard to say that crimes were happening throughout the entire evening everywhere. You know what I mean? Like it's not illegal, for example, to have strippers.
Yeah.
It's
depending
like,
what part of the country you're in, I guess.
Yeah. Well, LA, I mean, this is California. So, you know, I don't want to just like say these people are guilty by association. You know, we can't say that. It's like just because, I mean, they do this with politicians a lot too. It's like, oh, we've got a picture of, you know, so-and-so next to Epstein, or, you know, so-and-so next to Diddy. And it's like, well, yeah, they were at a DNC convention or an RNC convention or the Grammys or, you know, whatever. It's like, this doesn't mean that they're both criminals. It means they saw each other, they recognize each other, and somebody took a photo.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't implicate, you can't do the whole guilt by association thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we're going, once this investigation is finalized, I think we're going to see a lot of very famous people in a lot of trouble.
I think they just, at this point, need to just dismantle Hollywood and rebuild it. I mean, I
they could just
understand.
not rebuild it. Just, we could kind of do without. I mean, really.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think a lot of people know this, but even the US government has a budget line for Hollywood productions. It reminds me, when I found this out, it reminded me of Nazi Germany, where they were producing films and propaganda by the, what we would consider today the elite people of their country, the Hollywood figures of their country, to push the Nazi agenda. And I'm not comparing America to Nazi Germany, but the propaganda side of things, it does appear that way in my eyes.
Yeah, like, see, here's a picture of, again, on page 6, Regis Philbin and Vera Wang at a party. So Combs and Ashton Kutcher, and it looks like Russell Brand, back in 9, hosted a big party, and they were raising awareness for malaria, you know, and to raise money for a cure. So I think that there's probably, I think that abusers do this on purpose to kind of camouflage themselves.
Yeah.
They will, they'll mingle with good people. They'll mingle with philanthropists, people who, you know, are, you know, they'll associate with some sort of philanthropic cause, or moral cause or political cause that's popular, and they'll sort of like blend in that way. So I'd be really careful. Oh, there's Howard Stern. I don't like him.
Ugh, me neither. My dad used to watch the Howard Stern show in the living room.
Oh, geez.
Like, I learned way too much about sex by watching Howard Stern in the living room when I was a teenager.
He's he's like the human embodiment of a virus. Anyway, but all that to say, I think that, you know, genuinely normal, decent, non-criminal people could attend some of these parties thinking, oh, we're raising awareness, we're raising funds to prevent malaria, you know, and we're all going to wear white and it'll be cool. We'll have some champagne. We'll mingle with other celebrities. We'll make business connections, you know, and then they left, and then the party got worse and worse and worse as the night went on and the drugs kicked in and all that sort of thing.
Well, yes. So that's that whistleblower I told you about.
Yeah.
She did say that she didn't get to the party until it was like 4:00 in the morning.
Oh, Lordy. Why would you even go? Never mind.
That's just the life of some of these people. Their day life is at nighttime.
Yeah, they're nocturnal. Yeah.
Yeah. So she said that it progressively got worse. And the Diddy parties went on for days.
Yeah,
I can barely
high out of their minds.
Yeah, I can barely like go to a normal party and last for a couple hours. I'm such an introvert that I need to go home at that point. I'm just like socially exhausted.
Yeah.
let alone a couple days.
I know. Yeah, there's no way. But,
Yeah.
and this just goes back to the thing that I wonder about is you've got, what's his name? The comedian we talked about earlier, Ricky Gervais.
Yeah.
Ricky Gervais joking publicly about this. So everybody knows. Why did it take so long for law enforcement to investigate this?
So the reason I think is because when you're talking about a RICO charge, it takes years to build that case.
Yeah. But I mean, we're talking like
30 years? Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, this is a long time.
So some of the allegations also say that Diddy was working with law enforcement in the cities that he had houses.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, these date back to the 90s. So, granted, they might not have started that horrible. They might have started just as legit parties.
The girl from the 1992 lawsuit.
Oh, okay. So they do, the lawsuits date back to then too.
Diddy.
Never mind.
Yeah, there's a accused of 1991 sexual assault. Her name's Joy Dickerson Neal. She said she was drugged and sexually assaulted when she was a Syracuse University student visiting New York City. And Combs is accused of videotaping the alleged crime and distributing the tape to others in the music industry.
Yeah, here's Mariah Carey, Paris Hilton.
And here's the thing.
I think
so
that's
you get
Kardashian.
You get invited to a Diddy party. You go. You get invited inside. You see what's going on. If you are a morally standing individual, you would leave, right? You would leave, and the next time you get invited to a Diddy party, you wouldn't go back.
No,
They
get
think
this.
that
Get this.
Yeah.
This guy is a cocaine dealer. He was apparently allegedly hired to supply cocaine at the party. And apparently he decided to leave because he said weird crap was starting to happen.
Yeah.
When the cocaine dealer thinks this is getting weird.
This is what it reminds me of. Think about parties in Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah, that's what this is. Yeah, there's Ashton Kutcher again. But that's again, it's apparently from that same Malaria No More. You know, they really should have
Ashton Kutcher.
Given the theme of the party, they really should have been raising awareness for STDs.
Yes.
I mean,
the thing with Ashton Kutcher, though, is he's on video saying that he's been to numerous Diddy parties and he can't talk about them.
Yeah, see, and then that makes me wonder. It's like, why didn't you report something? Or did you? Maybe he did. You know, if he can't talk, you know, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he's involved in the investigation. I hope that's the case.
But then if Mia Kunis did file for a divorce and he can't talk about the Diddy parties, it does really raise some red flags.
Well, anybody who associates with him, I would say that raises red flags. I mean, at best, it's like they have zero discernment.
There was a commercial that Ashton Kutcher did, actually a series of commercials that he did.
Wow.
He bites into the dog.
Remember, Dr. Lee's pet engine cookie bags are not meant for babies, but they can be used for babies.
I don't know. Like I said, best case scenario, total lack of discernment.
It just makes me, it raises eyebrows and red flags.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's utterly disgusting and weird.
Yeah.
The level of the number of people involved in this for nobody to report any of it. I mean, it's just sad. Well,
it reminds me of the phrase that I keep hearing, that they're all in a big club and we're not in it.
Thank God.
Yeah, I would run for the hills to get out of that club.
My gosh.
But the thing is that I wanted to be a part of the club when I was younger, like as a teenager, growing up in the 90s.
Yeah,
like,
you want to be one of the cool kids. But the thing is, like, it seems like I'm sure that there are a lot of celebrities in Hollywood. Well, I know that there are a lot of celebrities in Hollywood who, they'll have nice parties and they've got gorgeous houses and 12, cars, and they're rich out of their minds. But they're nice people,
Yeah, for sure.
And you can be part of the cool kids club with those people and not get sexually assaulted. And again, it goes back to this kind of like what I was saying with the Abercrombie Fitch guy. There's this kind of a cult-like element to it where it's like, it's not necessarily religious, but these people are like satellites. They orbit around this extremely dangerous and dysfunctional and perverse individual who is able to manipulate them and blackmail them and drug them, and they participate in this and they enable it. And I'm not talking about the abuse victims, but
Yeah.
but people who they buy into this. They literally sell their souls for this lifestyle, and it's like a cult. And I really think that we're probably going to start seeing some allegations of like blackmail, like we did in the Epstein case, because this really sounds eerily similar to that.
Why
In
else
fact,
record?
Ooh, here's a conspiracy theory for you. Maybe the reason that Epstein's list hasn't been released yet is because the FBI and law enforcement know that it's the same list that is attending Diddy's parties, and they were still in the process of investigating all of that.
That could, it doesn't sound conspiratorial to me.
It actually kind of makes sense.
It does
but again,
make sense.
Would they please hurry up? Please, just,
Yeah, like these people are free. They're roaming the earth freely.
Yeah.
I mean, to our knowledge.
Yeah.
And they obviously have resources to do this all over again.
Yeah,
like,
and they are.
Who's the next Diddy? That's my question. Like, there's a lot. I've watched way too many videos.
Scares me is there's probably, dozens more like him.
Yeah.
In Hollywood. Just in Hollywood.
Dozens. Yeah. And I think politicians are involved too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, I don't understand how he can go 30-something years doing this unless the authorities and politicians were involved.
No, I
mean,
agree.
if you or I were to even cheat on our taxes, something would happen. And that is not even harming another human being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But you have people that have harmed hundreds, if not thousands of humans, and they're still like chilling.
Yeah. Yeah. It's bizarre.
I think there's something that a lot of people are not aware of, and that is if you're in a public place with your children, you can, by law, be photographed and recorded without your knowledge and it still be legal. And the reason I bring it up is because there was a situation that happened recently, and it reminded you of the Hillary Duff story from like 2015. Reminded me of this time that we lived in Pennsylvania. We didn't have a fence. We just got a new pool. And my daughters were like, the twins were 1. My oldest daughter was like 7 at the time. They're in their bathing suits, playing, jumping around. And this creepy neighbor is taking videos and photos of them.
What?
And
in your backyard?
got in, yeah. Like the backyards all were like next to each other.
Right.
So she's in her backyard. There's no fence. She can see into my backyard.
Yeah.
And she's just on her property taking a video of my kids. And I'm like, hey, stop it. And she's like, I don't want to. And I don't have to. I want pictures of your kids. And I'm like, you're going to stop. I called the police. The police said, as long as your kids are visible, it doesn't matter. People can take pictures of them.
That's really disturbing. I mean, on the one hand, I understand the practicality of it because, like, say, for example, I'm at a playground and I want to take a picture of my child, or I'm in a garden and I want to take a picture of a flower and somebody else's kid runs behind and they get in my photo. Well, I shouldn't be arrested or prosecuted for that. But, I mean, let's face it, taking photos of other people's children without their consent is, especially in your own backyard, that's really, really weird at best.
And while they're wearing bathing suits.
It's just weird. Like, why? Why? It doesn't make any sense. I can't think of a nice, normal, innocent reason to do that, especially after you asked her not to. And I think that's key because to me, that's when it starts escalating to harassment. I don't know, I'm sure laws vary by state, but if you tell someone stop photographing me or stop filming me, especially when you're on your own property, they should stop.
Yeah.
And if they don't, then we're going to have issues. Now, I do know that if they tried to use those photos for commercial purposes, like say for example, somebody has a storefront and they're taking photos of their storefront and there's people standing outside. Well, if you want to use that photo on your website, you're now going to have to get those people to sign a consent form because otherwise you can actually get sued and you could get prosecuted if you use that in an advertisement. And I really do feel, though, like if you're on your own property, there is an expectation of privacy. I mean, granted, you didn't have a fence, but there's an expectation of privacy in your own backyard.
Well, and that's what the police said was that, yeah, well, if you want privacy, install a privacy fence. So literally the next week, might have been the next day, I had a fencing company come out and we had a big yard. It was like half an acreage. And so it's going to cost us like $12,000 to put up a fence. And I'm like, $12,000 so this creepy neighbor would stop videotaping my kids?
You should just put it like between your two houses.
Like, good golly. So I just felt like a lot of people don't realize that it is lawful for you to be photographed in public. I would encourage you to confront someone if you think that they're taking photos or videos of you, and especially if it's your kids.
There's some kind of like stalking type.
You would think so, yeah. I think it depends
there's got to be some line that they cross at some point. Like if somebody's following you and repeatedly taking photos of you wherever you go, that's stalking.
That's stalking, yeah.
Yeah.
But if it's a one-time occurrence, like we were at the beach, a year ago or so, and my daughters were playing by the water, the twins, and I could see this guy off in the distance, and there was hardly anybody on the beach. And his camera was pointed right at my daughters. And I'm like, I said to my husband, I'm like, I think he's taking videos and pictures of our kids. So my husband started walking towards him and just staring at him, and this guy got frazzled and just started walking away.
Well, that's what he should have done.
Yeah, well, and part of me wanted to take his phone and throw it in the darn ocean. Like, what are you doing, creeper?
Yeah. It's kind of a confession, too. You know, he knows that what he was doing was weird.
But pedophiles, they will use any footage of children with sounds from children and them in bathing suits or them eating food. They have these sick fetishes. They don't care if the kids are naked or not. They can still get off on just regular pictures of kids.
I think that's part of probably why they have that law where it's you can't use it for commercial use. So if they try to sell those photos, then it does turn into a criminal
But how
issue.
would I even know?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Right? So anyway, y'all, be a mama bear, be a papa bear. If you ever feel like someone is videotaping your kids, confront them.
In the case with Hillary Duff, that weird photographer guy, he actually got physical with her. He puts his hand up and you can see at the end of the video, and he goes like that, knocks the phone out of her hand. So that's assault. So I kind of wish, maybe she did, and I just don't know. But I wish that she had called the police. I think that anytime, and this goes back to that situation I had with my daughter, when that weird man sat down next to her, just call the police, and worst case scenario, if it was some sort of innocent misunderstanding, now he knows not to sit next to my daughter because I don't know that guy. But, if he is, testing the boundaries, now he's scared off and, hopefully he won't escalate that behavior.
Yeah, I see it here. She says, go practice your photography on adults, creep. Laws need to change. This is stalking minors. Disgusting. Said that 4 years ago.
Yeah, and he sued her, but he lost.
The last comment on this post was from a week ago, and someone said Hillary killed this man.
Apparently he died recently. That was 4 or 5 years ago. She did not kill him. That's ridiculous. She called him a creep and posted on Instagram, nobody dies.
Yeah, I don't know.
He was 67 at the time, so he's not a spring chicken.
Right.
The photographer who sued Hillary Duff over the creep claim has died. His attorney apparently announced it in My News LA. Just a second. He encountered the Cheaper by the Dozen star. Oh, this was back in 2020. So 4 years ago.
In September 2023, the fizz.
What? Oh, okay. So late 2023.
Yeah.
Huh. Weird. But anyway, the videos, for whatever reason, was trending on X again. And that's how I saw it. And here we are.
Yeah. Had died in a vehicle on May 19th, and that the official cause of death was I can't even pronounce that word, and I don't want to sound stupid. Some sort of cardiovascular disease.
Oh, so like a heart condition.
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
And he sued Hillary Duff for defamation because she called him a creep.
I mean,
and it damaged his reputation, he said. The judge disagreed in 2022 and tentatively dismissed the defamation portion of the case, citing free speech in California's strategic lawsuit against public participation law, which is designed to prevent lawsuits or the threat of lawsuits to intimidate those who are exercising their First Amendment rights. Yeah. So call the police, or if you feel comfortable and confident enough, you can confront that person, but just use wisdom. And I've seen people being videoed, recorded, people being recorded while they were like in the dressing room and somebody put their camera on the floor.
Now that is a crime.
That is definitely a crime. That is not a public space.
No, that is when you definitely have an expectation of privacy. So when I think it was my 5-year anniversary, something like that. I was young and had not had children yet. I was at an Italian restaurant, pretty nice Italian restaurant, and it was apparently like, I don't know, a bunch of high schoolers were there having some sort of party. I don't know if it was prom or what. But so we're eating. I get to use the ladies' room. I'm sitting on the toilet and I see a phone slide under the door, and I hear this girl giggling. And I said, "Did you just take a picture of me?" And she gasps and she runs out of the room. So I pull my pants up, I run out there, and by then she was gone. Like, I didn't see who she was, didn't see where she'd gone. So I complained to the restaurant manager. I was very upset. And I think my theory is, I think what happened was she thought it was her friend in there and it was supposed to be some sort of prank.
Sure.
And she photographed a stranger instead. The restaurant manager said that the kids that were at that table obviously knew who did it, but they were all keeping quiet and not admitting anything. On the bright side, the restaurant covered me and Jason's dinner that night. And
happy 5-year anniversary. Praise the Lord.
Yeah.
Hopefully your picture isn't anywhere. Hopefully.
I don't think she got anything because I was pretty covered up. Like, I was wearing a dress, and like from the angle she was at, like she wouldn't have been able to see anything. Just me going, so it's probably like me sitting on the toilet being like,
So I'm curious, would you have done anything different if that were to happen again?
If that happened again today, I would have marched over the table and shooed the kids out.
Okay, I would have smashed the phone.
It happened so fast.
I know, that's like probably not the best response.
Like by the time I understood, like my first reaction was like, "Are you taking a photo of me?" Like, I didn't even have time to process.
Factor.
Oh,
yeah.
Totally. It's like I, sitting there doing my business, look up and see a phone, and it's just like, what?
And if you're anything like me and you're out on a date with your husband, you probably already had like one drink at that point.
I don't remember, but yeah, it was just kind of like
I would have been
I certainly felt safe. It was a nice restaurant, so I wasn't like, it's not like I was in a seedy gas station or something like that where I'd be watching my back. It was a nice, one of those places where, I don't know, it was just not at all what I expected. So, and it was a bunch of ditzy teenage girls in there too. It wasn't like there was a guy in the restaurant.
Fair. Yeah, I'm not a violent person, but just don't take it.
Do you know Faulty Towers?
Mm-mm.
I don't remember what the scenario was. I need to dig it up. But Basil Fawlty, the main character, he's played by John Cleese, the British comedian, and he's really, really funny, but he's really, really judgmental and irritating to his guests. And one of his guests, like, I don't remember why, but they beat the crap out of him. And the guy stands up and he goes, "I'm not a violent man, Mr. Fawlty." However,
yeah, my fight or flight comes out, and you will probably get the fight portion of me. I have a very feisty side, and my daughters asked me the other day, I forget how this subject came up, but they're like, "Mom, did you ever get in trouble for the fights you got into when you were in high school?" And I had to think about it. I was like, "No, I didn't." because it was always self-defense. Like, I never started a fight with someone, but for some reason, fights found me, and I got into quite a few physical altercations. If you are any of those girls, please forgive me. I am a new creature in Christ, but just know that if you're going to step to me a certain way, you're going to get it back. And now I have better ways to defend myself. So just don't. Just don't.
Well, and it was funny. It's like after that guy sat down next to my daughter, and I stood up to him and I yelled at him and I called him out and I called the police, and the whole drama fest went down. Like, for several days after that, we would see him out there at what she calls her picnic table. It's not her picnic table, obviously. It's one out of like 12
She
picnic
should carve
tables.
her name in it, then it would be her picnic table.
But he was sitting there, and it felt like he was trying to make a statement. It felt like he was making his presence there so that she would feel awkward and wouldn't want to go sit down. Which
For sure
made me
he
sad.
was. Yeah.
It made me sad because she's a sweet little girl. She just wants to sit there and color while I walk across the street to get her sisters. Like, and she should feel safe doing that. Like, it's a safe area. And she's 12. It's not like she's 2. So, it bothered me, but it was funny. It's like I told Jason on the phone, I was like, that guy, he's sitting at the picnic table, and Jason goes, well, at least now he's not a stranger.
That's true, but she still shouldn't talk to him.
Oh, gosh, no. Gosh, no. No, it was just more the point of, if he tries to pull anything now, we know exactly who he is, and there's a paper trail.
There's a lot of fishy fellows and ladies out there.
Well, and it just, and it same with that Hillary Duff situation. It just struck me as interesting that his first reaction was, oh, I didn't do anything illegal. It's not illegal to photograph your kids. I can photograph your kids because there's no law against it. And it's like, well, okay.
Sorry.
But there are social norms, and there are societal standards, and there is just basic human decency. If somebody asks you to stop taking pictures of their kids, you stop. I mean, come on. And the other thing is, like, if say I'm doing, now this guy was like in his 50s or 60s, but say I'm a college student and I am putting together something for a photography class, and I want to take a picture of some kids playing soccer or whatever. I'd go to their parents and I'd say, hey, this is what I'm doing. Here's my ID. This is the school I go to. I'm taking this photography class. Do you mind if I take a few photos? It won't just be one specific kid or anything like that. I just want a group photo, like just kids playing on a field. Won't be able to tell who they are. Won't be posted online, blah, blah. Is that okay? And then the parents say, okay. And you do, and then you leave. And that's normal. Like, it's...
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It reminds me, you said that, well, both in the Hillary Duff situation and in the situation with your daughter at the park, they made a comment that, well, I'm not doing anything illegal. Like, I'm within my rights. So Robert David Steele, the ex-CIA spy that I mentioned to you, he said that these organizations and governments don't start out like with bad intentions, but those who are attracted to children have learned how to put on that mask, right? That we talk about. And because they want access, they want law change, they will put themselves in positions purposefully, whether it be a lawmaker, politician, whatever, to allow laws that will enable them to take pictures of children or fill in the blank. And so just another reminder that we need to be careful who we're entrusting our children to.
And be aware of your surroundings,
Yeah.
And I think that, probably a similar thing played out at these Diddy parties, Maybe the first handful of parties weren't that bad, and then they got steadily worse over time. I get the impression that earlier in the evening or the afternoon, whenever they initially started, that they were fine. They were dinner parties. There were kids present. And then at some point during the evening, they would say, okay, the adult section of the party is starting. And so all of the kids, at least the ones that they wanted to protect, left. went home to their babysitters or whatever. And so you get this impression that the night got steadily worse and worse and worse and worse. And of course, that victim that you talked about, she showed up at 4 a.m, by which time everybody is out of their minds on God knows what kind of drugs and drunk and doing all sorts of terrible things. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely this pattern that we see in all abuse cases. And that's why it's so important. Like when we as parents ask someone, please don't sit next to my child, or please don't photograph my child, that the person respect your right as a parent to protect your child. And I'm not saying that you're a pedophile or that you have evil intentions, but just understand that my job as a mom is to protect my baby. And if I don't know you and I don't trust you, respect my right and my job to protect my child.
Yes.
And go do something else. It's not hard.
Yeah.
There are other picnic tables. There are other things to photograph.
Yeah, and that coupled with the Robert David Steele thing reminds me of the Child Protective Services and the family court judges. So if indeed what Robert David Steele is true, then that means that pedophiles or minor attracted persons, they are putting themselves in positions to be attorneys, to be judges, to be able to enable the abuse of children. And it is horrific. And it is something that the Lord will not overlook. And these people have a millstone with their name on it waiting for them if they don't repent.
Absolutely, 100%.
Well, Jen, I think that
covered a lot of ground.
We did. We talked about all kinds of fun things today.
All kinds of fun things.
Thank you so much for tuning in, and thanks for listening to us rant and connect dots that maybe had no connection to begin with, but that's how our mind works. So I hope that you were you benefited from this discussion, and we look forward to seeing y'all. Well, for you to see us, because we can't see you.
We could see when they like stuff, though, and subscribe.
Yes. On that note, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like our content. Make sure you leave a comment, and even maybe tag a friend that you think would like to listen in on this. And don't forget to check in on us next week, where we'll drop another fun episode. If you have any suggestions on what you would like us to talk about, you can either drop it in the comment section below, or feel free to email me, rebecca@theboldadvocate.org, and I'd be happy to discuss that with Jen on the air.
Sounds awesome.
Anything you'd like to leave our folks with, Jen?
Thank you for listening, especially if you made it this long. Thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed our lengthy and colorful and meandering conversation, and stay safe.
Yes, God bless you all.